What does power look like? Is it the roar of a stadium filled with 10,000 souls, hanging on every word of a single man on stage? Is it the feeling of walking across a bed of burning coals, emerging on the other side feeling invincible? For decades, we've been sold a tantalizing promise that we can unlock the giant within, that we can reprogram our minds for success. That absolute personal power is just one seminar, one breakthrough, one charismatic guide away. But in our relentless pursuit of self-improvement, we rarely stop to ask a crucial question when you give someone the keys to your mind. What do they do when you're not looking? This is murky history, and tonight, we pull back the curtain on the multi-billion-dollar self-help industry through the lens of its most iconic figure. This isn't just a story about one man. It's an investigation into the sophisticated, and sometimes sinister, psychological architecture designed to capture our hope, our trust, and our wallets. These stories take months of research to uncover. If you believe they deserve to be told, consider subscribing to join our journey into the shadows of history. The story of Anthony Robbins is, in itself, a masterclass in narrative. It's the quintessential American dream, weaponized for mass consumption. Born into a chaotic and impoverished home, a young Tony Robbins decides at 17 that he will not settle for the life he was given. He works as a janitor, lives in his car, and by his own account, is overweight, broke, and alone. This is the origin myth, the from-nothing foundation upon which an empire will be built. His turning point comes when he discovers the work of John Grinder, co-creator of a controversial methodology called neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP. NLP posits that there's a connection between neurological processes, language, and behavioral patterns learned through experience, and crucially, it claims these patterns can be changed, or reprogrammed, to achieve specific goals. For Robbins, this wasn't just theory, it was a toolkit. He becomes a practitioner, then a promoter, of NLP and firewalking seminars, an ancient ritual repackaged as a modern metaphor for overcoming fear. By the late 1980s and early 90s, Tony Robbins was a phenomenon. His infomercials, with their boundless energy and testimonials from celebrities like Martin Sheen and Fran Tarkenton, were inescapable. He wasn't just selling tapes, he was selling a state of being. His books, Unlimited Power and Awaken the Gent Within, became Bibles for a generation of aspiring entrepreneurs and lost souls. He was a force of nature, a 6'7" titan with a gravelly voice who could seemingly cure phobias in minutes and inspire thousands to chant "I am the voice." In unison, the public persona was flawless, a philanthropist, a peak performance strategist, a confidant to presidents and sports legends. His signature event, Unleash the Power Within, or UPW, became a rite of passage. A year-long, bombshell investigation by BuzzFeed News was published. It wasn't a whisper, it was a roar. The report, built on leaked recordings, internal documents, and interviews with dozens of former followers and staff, painted a profoundly disturbing picture. It detailed allegations of inappropriate sexual advances, berating and humiliating audience members, and creating an environment where emotional and psychological boundaries were not just crossed, but systematically dismantled. For 4 days and nights, attendees are immersed in a high-energy, sleep-deprived environment. She claimed that after sharing a story of being sexually abused, Robbins pulled her on stage, told her she was lying about the experience to get attention, and then paraded her around the room, asking other men to get in her face to prove she wasn't afraid of them. Robbins' legal team denied the allegations, stating he was using a specific therapeutic technique. But for the public, this was the first deep crack in the armor of the world's most famous life coach. The official story of pure empowerment suddenly had a dark, competing narrative, one of alleged humiliation, control, and a profound abuse of power. The question was no longer if something was wrong, but how deep the rot went. There's constant music, dancing, chanting, and emotionally charged exercises. The climax, of course, is the firewalk, a literal leap of faith. The official story is one of empowerment. People leave these events feeling ecstatic, transformed, capable of anything. They feel like they've had a spiritual awakening, a psychological rebirth. For a fee of anywhere from a few hundred to a few $1,000s, Tony Robbins offered a shortcut to a better you. And for a long time, that was the only story most of us ever heard. But then, in 2019, the foundation of that carefully constructed narrative began to tremble. One of the most jarring accounts came from a woman who attended a seminar in the early 2000s. To understand what allegedly happens in the shadows of these high-octane events, we must first understand the playbook. The techniques at the heart of the Robbins empire are not random. They are a sophisticated blend of established psychological principles. We're talking 12 to 16-hour days, often with minimal breaks. An anchor is a stimulus, a touch, a word, a gesture that is paired with a specific emotional state. During the seminar, Robbins often has people recall their most powerful, positive memories while performing a physical action, like clenching a fist and shouting yes. The goal is to create a neurological link. Later, just by performing that action, the subject can theoretically re-access that euphoric state. But this tool can be used for more than just positive reinforcement. It can be used to create dependency. The high experienced in the seminar becomes linked to Robbins' presence, his voice, his methods. When attendees return to their normal lives, that high inevitably fades, creating a powerful craving to return, to buy the next product, to attend the more expensive seminar, in order to feel that peak state again. The room is kept cold, forcing attendees to stay active, to jump, to dance, to generate their own heat. The music is relentless, ranging from euphoric dance tracks to emotionally charged ballads, creating a roller coaster of emotional states. Psychologists call this environment control. By managing the temperature, the sound, the schedule, and even the food and water intake, the organizers create a disorienting reality where normal critical thinking is suspended. Sleep deprivation alone is a well-documented tool for breaking down mental resistance. NLP and classic group persuasion tactics honed over decades to create a state of maximum emotional vulnerability and suggestibility. Let's begin with the environment itself. A UPW seminar is an exercise in sensory overload and physical endurance. Within this controlled environment, the core tool is deployed. Neurolinguistic programming. A key technique in NLP is anchoring. Then there is the power of language. Robbins is a master of what NLP calls hypnotic language patterns. He uses vague language, or Milton model patterns, that allow listeners to fill in the blanks with their own personal meaning, making his advice feel intensely personal and profound. He uses embedded commands, where a directive is hidden inside a larger sentence, like I don't know when you will ... Decide to change your life right now. But I know you have the power. The conscious mind hears a casual sentence, but the subconscious may register the command. He also employs a technique called pacing and leading. He'll start by pacing the audience's reality, describing their problems and frustrations in a way that makes them feel deeply understood. You felt stuck, haven't you? You felt like there's more to life, but you just can't seem to grab it. Once that rapport is built, he can lead them to his desired conclusions and solutions. This leads us to the group dynamics. Sociologists and cult experts like Stephen Hassan have identified these techniques for decades. There's love bombing, where new attendees are showered with affection and positive reinforcement from staff and veteran followers, creating an immediate sense of belonging. There's the creation of an in-group and an out-group. Those who embrace the teachings are on the team, warriors, leaders. Those who are skeptical or question the methods are subtly or overtly framed as being stuck in their limiting beliefs, playing the victim, or simply not getting it. This creates immense social pressure to conform. The most potent element, however, is the high-pressure sales tactic disguised as a life-changing opportunity. Towards the end of a seminar like UPW, when the audience is exhausted, emotionally raw, and bonded as a group, the sales pitch for the next, more expensive level begins. This is often date with destiny, a program costing thousands of dollars. The pitch frames this not as a purchase, but as an investment in oneself. To say no is framed as saying no to your own future, to your own happiness. Volunteers run through the aisles with credit card machines. The music swells. The social proof is overwhelming as people rush to the back of the room. It's a perfectly engineered moment of manufactured urgency and emotional decision-making, leaving little room for rational financial consideration. These aren't just motivational speeches. This is a finely tuned psychological funnel designed to move people from a low-cost entry point to high-ticket programs, all under the guise of personal transformation. The playbook of persuasion, while ethically questionable, is one thing. The human cost of its alleged misuse is another. The BuzzFeed News investigation and other reports that followed provided the devastating link between the methods we've just explored and their real-world consequences. Leaked footage and eyewitness accounts describe numerous instances of what Robbins calls pattern interrupts, but what critics describe as public humiliation. He would single out individuals from the crowd who shared stories of depression, trauma, or relationship problems. In one recorded incident, Robbins confronts a man from Pakistan who is struggling with suicidal thoughts. Robbins tells him his problems are BS and that he needs to man the F up. He gets the entire arena to chant at the man, who appears visibly distressed. While supporters would call this tough love designed to shock someone out of a negative state, psychologists and trauma experts were horrified. They argued that this approach risks re-traumatizing individuals, shaming them for their mental illness, and replacing therapy with a form of high-stakes performance art with no aftercare or professional support. The climax of our story is not a single event, but the revelation of a pattern of alleged psychological and emotional harm inflicted on the very people who came seeking healing. Let's return to the practice of on-stage interventions. The allegations then escalated into the realm of the deeply personal and sexual. Multiple women, many of them former followers or staff, accused Robbins of inappropriate behavior. One former assistant claimed he would often be naked in front of her in hotel rooms. Others described him making sexual advances or commenting on their appearance. One woman, who had sought out his help, alleged that he berated her for being attracted to men who were not her equal, and then told her that he, himself, was the kind of powerful man she should be with. Robbins' legal team vehemently denied all allegations of non-consensual sexual behavior, framing them as misinterpretations or lies from disgruntled individuals. But the sheer volume and consistency of the accounts, from women who did not know each other, painted a chilling picture of a power dynamic allegedly gone wrong. The revelation here is not just that a powerful man was accused of misconduct. It's how the very system he created could allegedly enable it. The environment is designed to break down boundaries. Think of Keith Raniere and an ex-IVM, which also started as a professional development seminar series promising to unlock human potential. It used similar techniques of environmental control, intense group pressure, and the deconstruction of personal boundaries. It, too, had a charismatic leader who demanded absolute trust. It ended with federal convictions for sex trafficking and racketeering. While the scale and criminality are different, the underlying psychological architecture shares disturbing similarities. The ultimate climax of this investigation is the sobering realization that the tools of self-help and the tools of cultic control are, in some cases, one and the same. The only difference is the brand, the delivery, and the degree to which they are used. Attendees are encouraged to be totally open, to share their deepest secrets, to be physically and emotionally demonstrative. In this state of induced vulnerability, the power imbalance between the guru on stage and the follower in the audience is immense. The guru is positioned as the all-knowing authority, the one with the answers. To question him is to question your own path to salvation. This dynamic, critics argue, creates a fertile ground for potential exploitation, where the line between therapeutic intervention and personal gratification can become dangerously blurred. And this isn't a phenomenon unique to Tony Robbins. It's a template seen time and again in high-control groups. The story of Tony Robbins and the controversy surrounding him did not end in 2019. He remains an immensely popular and wealthy figure. His seminars continue, his books still sell, and his influence persists. But the legacy of this story is not about the fate of one man. It is about the permanent mark he has left on our culture and the way his playbook has been democratized, digitized, and deployed across the internet. The dark psychology of the mega guru has trickled down and become the standard operating procedure for a new generation of online coaches, influencers, and digital messiahs. Think about it. The multi-billion-dollar self-help industry is now more pervasive than ever, largely thanks to social media. Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube are flooded with coaches who have never coached, experts with no expertise, and gurus whose only qualification is a talent for personal branding. The pacing and leading technique is the foundation of countless YouTube ads that start with "Are you feeling lost? Do you feel like you are meant for more?" before leading you to their one-of-a-kind solution. The in-group mentality is fostered through private Facebook groups and Discord servers, where skepticism is discouraged and followers are praised for their investment in themselves. The love bombing comes in the form of DMs and personalized comments, making followers feel seen and special. They use the exact same principles, just scaled down for a digital audience. The high-energy seminar is now a high-octane webinar, complete with manufactured urgency and countdown timers. The expensive Date with Destiny program is now a $10,000 mastermind group, sold through a carefully crafted sales funnel that starts with a free ebook. The language of NLP is everywhere. You see it in the captions of influencers promising to help you manifest your dream life or program your money mindset. This digital self-help ecosystem is arguably even more insidious. The algorithms are designed to feed us more of what we engage with, creating echo chambers that reinforce a guru's message and shield followers from dissenting opinions. The parasocial relationship, the one-sided intimacy a follower feels for a creator, replicates the guru-disciple dynamic on a massive scale. We invite these people into our homes, our headphones, our daily lives, giving them an unprecedented level of access to our thoughts and insecurities. So, why does this matter today? It matters because the search for meaning and self-improvement is a fundamental human need. But in a world that is increasingly uncertain, isolating, and economically precarious, that need becomes a vulnerability. It teaches us to be wary of anyone who promises easy answers to complex problems. It urges us to question the power dynamics at play whenever someone positions themselves as having all the answers. It reminds us that genuine growth is often slow, difficult, and deeply personal. It cannot be purchased in a weekend seminar or a 10-module online course. The firewalk is a powerful metaphor, but perhaps the real challenge ain't walking on coals. It's navigating a world filled with people who want to sell you the fire. And this vulnerability is now a massive, unregulated market. The legacy of the 20th century guru is the 21st century online coaching industry, which often operates with zero accountability, zero professional standards, and a playbook built on psychological manipulation. We are constantly being sold the idea that our unhappiness is a personal failing, a limiting belief that can be fixed with the right course or consultant, rather than a rational response to systemic problems. The ultimate lesson from this dark history is one of media literacy and critical thinking. We began this journey in a stadium filled with hope, and we end it in the shadow of a complex and troubling industry. We've seen how the promise of empowerment can be twisted into a system of control, how charisma can mask coercion, and how the search for a better self can be exploited for profit and power. The story of modern self-help is a reflection of our deepest desires and our greatest vulnerabilities. It forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. The line between a guide and a guru, a teacher and a tyrant, can be terrifyingly thin. So, we leave you with this question to ponder in the comments. In our desperate search for answers, how do we learn to trust our own voice above the roar of the crowd? If you found this investigation valuable, please like, share, and subscribe. It is your support that allows us to keep turning over the stones that others would prefer to leave unturned. Until next time, stay curious. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into murky history.